So it's a rather sad day. The Tesla's going back. I don't want to take it back. I've had it for 11 days. I've done 2,300 miles in it to Orkney and back. It is just a perfect EV. It's just brilliant. So I'll let the video run for a couple of minutes and I'll do a bit at the end when I get to Gatwick. Oh, the lights have changed again, never mind. More time for me chuntering. My mother has kindly volunteered to follow me in her little Honda, so I'm getting a ride back. But the sat nav is brilliant. I've put Gatwick Tesla's address in and 139 miles. Oh, but I've only got, get this, I've only got 242 miles. But you know, that's Tesla for you. As a confirmed EV addict with Leaf and amaze and all the other electric vehicles, this is just it's just an incredible piece of kit. Yeah, it's just brilliant. I've become totally smitten with it. When I first drove it, the first few hours, I was conscious of its size, you know, and its width, and I was conscious of traffic. Obviously, I've kind of been lent this car by Tesla in Gatwick via Fleet Drive, who I work for, to demonstrate on Orkney. So getting the keys, being told
200 yards, take the third exit from the roundabout and follow the A5460. Great
sat nav. And I was given the keys and said it's fully charged. Sorry we've not cleaned it, but it's fully charged. And there you go. So Gatwick at rush hour on a Tuesday. It was pretty busy, and I'll be honest, it was quite a white-knuckled ride because I was conscious of its size and rush hour traffic. But I'd say within an hour, I was starting to get more comfortable. And now it's, you know, it feels like any car I've driven. It feels like a little hatchback. It's so easy to drive. You're aware of its size. You do draw a lot of boy races. Yeah, it's very quickly got used to it. I love all the features. I think it's called a tech pack or a premium pack.
In 400 yards, turn left onto the M1.
And that is just brilliant. I love cruise control anyway. Little stalk here. But it's got adaptive cruise control, which I didn't think I'd use. But it is absolutely brilliant.
Now turn left.
I wouldn't be without that in one of these. Other nice things, at night when you're, I mean, I know you can get this on Mercedes and other high-end cars, it's got automatic dipping of the main beam headlights. It sees other cars approaching and dips the main beam at just the right time so as not to dazzle other drivers.
Please follow the road for 14 miles.
It then also recognises when I'm in a built-up area and will also dip the main beam headlights, and then obviously pop it back onto full beam when you go back into an unlit piece of road. Great, really great. What else? Lane departure system. You can turn this on or off, so when you wander across towards the white lines in the road, either near side or offside, the car will send a very minor vibration through the steering wheel just to alert you. Now obviously when you go to overtake on the motorway or any other road and you indicate, obviously you're telling the car you're going to cross the line and the steering wheel doesn't vibrate. Little things like that just make it, for a geek like me, just make it a really pleasurable thing to drive. Automatic headlights, automatic windscreen wipers, all the things you can do on the central tab. Well, a lot of things you can do here you can control with the buttons on the steering wheel. For now, for instance, we have a huge sat-nav map here, but it's also repeated more concisely in the middle of the main instrument binnacle in the centre there. So that's great. Whilst we're talking of the instruments, you've obviously got your energy usage in orange, and then when you come off the throttle it turns to green. Whilst we're on that subject, the regen on this car is brilliant. Nice severe regen, not quite as severe as on the i3, but I think just Absolutely right. So off the throttle, it feels like you're applying a fair degree of braking, although you're not. You've not touched the brake, and obviously that creates energy and pushes amps back into the battery, which is wonderful, which increases your range. But it also puts on the rear brake lights, and you can see that in the rear-facing camera at night. You can see what you've just passed illuminate. So rear brake lights come on when you come off the throttle and regen. Brilliant. So you're not going to take anyone by surprise when you reduce speed without touching the brakes. The other great thing is there's a little marker on the dashboard next to the blue band, which indicates the current speed restriction for that particular piece of road you're driving in. Again, so at the minute it's stuck at 70. As you go through different areas, if you've got 3G connectivity, it will automatically jump to what speed you should be doing for that given bit of road. Which I can understand from Google Maps, and signposts that have been there for years, and they can dial that in. But the interesting thing is, on the variable speed limit gantries on the motorway for roadworks or an accident that flashes 20, and it can perhaps be 20 for as long as it needs to be for that day, the car, the second it drives underneath the gantry, the car recognises this current temporary speed restriction and indicates it on the dash. Fabulous, Tesla. Absolutely brilliant. Really like that. What else? It's nice driving position. My only minor criticism, and this is me looking for something that isn't absolutely perfect, because everything else tends to be in my brain perfect about this car. The seat, it's one of the older style seats. Bear in mind this is only 6 months old. When you sit absolutely square, and I'm a little bit OCD, and you put your head on the headrest, so it's slap bang in the middle of the headrest, the steering wheel is slightly offset to the right by about half an inch, perhaps 3/4 of an inch, by about that much. That's my only tiny criticism that was surfaced. I'm assuming with the newer seats, which have more support to your lumbar region, your legs, your thighs, then they maybe have rectified that for the right-hand drive car. That's my only minor criticism. Even such a big car, little things I've started to notice from a design point of view that are great is they've got some little lumps, what would you call them, creases in the front edge of the bonnet. They're a really good visual aid as to the extremity of the vehicle. It's really good. I mean, if it was all softened and rounded off, probably a bit like a big Audi, you wouldn't have that clearly defined line to look at immediately. Nice. It attracts Audi drivers like moths to a fly on a summer's night. They all slow down and gawp at it, so it's got that Audi-esque look to it, which is not a bad thing. Get all those Audi sheep out of their Audi vehicles with their dirty diesels and get them into something proper. And whilst we're on the subject of that, that's the other thing about this Tesla Model S. It's not just a great EV, it's a great car. It's just, if you're not into electric vehicles, you would love this car. There's no two ways about it. You can be the most Clarkson-esque personality petrol head, and you will just love this car. Its acceleration, its handling, its features, its comfort, its smoothness. A lot of people have commented. I did this test drive on Orkney with a gentleman who's got a Range Rover Super Sport and a Mercedes S-Class, and he likes his power. And he got in it, and he's always, electric cars, a bit of a fad. So I took him out in it, and he drove slower than I thought he would, because I've seen him drive around on Orkney, and boy does he drive quick. And we did the usual 0 to 60 thing, and that blew his socks off. He was impressed. So then he started driving very sedately and calmly. I was chatting to him. He said it's so quiet. He said it's so smooth. And as he's driving along with his hand like this on the steering wheel, he's like, I feel like I want to have a nap. Now that's not a good thing to drive to fall asleep at the wheel, but what impressed him the most was its smoothness and its quietness. So, never had that before, but I thought that was an interesting comment. And he's definitely looking at figures to lease one, which is one of the reasons I took him out in it. So, yeah, lots of different responses. I've done, we had an electric car show on Orkney, where we had all the normal EVs, Leaf, Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid, Peugeot Ion, Citroen C0, ENV200 Nissan electric van, and a lot of interest. I took my little Twizy. Have you seen my Twizy? I had it all stickered up with my personal plate on, and on the back of the Twizy I've rather cheekily written, my other car is a Tesla. And for the last 10 days that has been the truth. It really has been a Tesla, and I'll pop a picture up here just to prove that point. What was I saying? Yes, the demos and the test drives at this electric vehicle event on Orkney went really well. Lots and lots of people descended on the main road in Orkney. And one of the things I like to do with a little spotty teenager came up, "Oh, I like your car, mister, you know, oh, that's all right, flash your car." And I said, "Would you like to see the engine?" "Oh, yeah, please." So I get the smart key fob. There's the key. I'll just show you. Smart key. So you just tap the front and up pop the bonnet. Well, it just pops up about that much. And then I asked the young lad, so I said, "Well, go on, open the engine." He goes to the front of the car and pulls the engine up, goes, "Ah, right, this is one of these amazing cars with the engine in the boot. A bit like a Porsche." "Right, okay." So I popped open the boot opens automatically, trots round to the back of the car, and then it goes very quiet. And then this lad, nice lad, it's like, he was genuinely lost for words. And he came round to the middle of the car and suddenly went, "Well, if it's not in the front and it's not in the back, it's underneath somewhere then, isn't it?" So he gets on his knees and he goes underneath and he can't see the exhaust. So, what makes it go? So that has been particularly satisfying, to get kids thinking about electric cars and the difference as to what they perceive a car should be. Which is what I enjoy doing, is changing people's perceptions about EVs. I'm not a hard-nosed salesman, it's just not me. I just like to introduce people and, you know, help them buy one or lease one should they want to in the future. But the car just speaks for itself, it really does, as do all EVs. So it's been an amazing 12 days. I've done a huge amount of miles, which I've thoroughly enjoyed every minute. I've never wished I wasn't in this car. I wish I wasn't taking it back. Mr. Tesla, can you please leave me one on Orkney to permanently demonstrate? We can have a fleet of Model S's on Orkney. But that's not going to happen. That'd be nice if he did. Yeah, it's a phenomenal car. It really is. What else can I tell you about it? Right, charging. Tesla superchargers. Brilliantly simple. Again, having driven several Nissan Leaf, 6 Nissan Leaf now, from the London area, Essex, Chelmsford, Colchester. I've driven 6 Nissan Leaf from that area, south of England, up to Leicestershire, to stay with my parents one night, which has been about 120 miles. Now to do that, I've perhaps stopped once or twice, at Nissan's excellent rapid chargers that charge at 110 amps. When I picked this up from Tesla Gatwick on the 1st of September, it had a full charge, 260 miles. It wasn't quite full.
2 miles, keep to the
98% full. And I drove the 110 miles back to my parents without stopping. And that did mess with my head, because I've been used to driving the Nissan Leaf and Mitsubishi i-Leaf. So I got to my parents with 160 miles left. Absolutely staggering. So then I set out the following morning to Aberdeen for my parents, which is exactly 444 miles. So I popped it into the sat-nav. Just let me pull over so I'm in the right lane. Popped it in the sat-nav, and the car said you need to stop at 2, possibly 3 rapid superchargers. Must get that right. Now the Tesla superchargers, of which I'll pop a picture on, are simplicity itself. No swiping of a card, no phoning up, no punching buttons. You basically pull up with your Model S, press the nice neat little button that's on the trigger,
keep to the right and follow the M1 towards the south,
and that will open the little flap so you can then pop in the supercharger, and that charges at around 350 to 400 amps. Phenomenally quick, and that was just brilliant. So I stopped at Warrington, a nice health spa on the way up. The car then said, excuse me, you need to stay on this supercharger for...
Now keep to the right and follow the M1 towards the south.
12 or 13 minutes. So I sat there 12 or 13 minutes. I actually went to use the bathroom. As Robert Llewellyn says, I had bladder anxiety, not range anxiety. So I sat there for perhaps 15 minutes.
Follow the road for 62 miles.
And then after 12 minutes, the car said I had enough to get to the next supercharger, which was Gretna Green Services. So, just ample range. So I got to Gretna Green Services. Again, I had to stop in between because I needed to go to the bathroom. Gretna Green Services, I think it was for 18 minutes. And then the car after that said, right, you can now get to Edinburgh Airport, which is Tesla's most northerly charger in the UK. So we got to Edinburgh Airport, and I needed to sit there for, I think it was 18 minutes, in order to get to my final destination, which was Aberdeen Docks. So the superchargers have been an absolute revelation to me as a hardened EV driver. Sailing past all the Ecotricity rapid chargers on the motorway was quite satisfying, should we say. So that was nice. Now coming back, I had to catch what we call the Scrabster ferry, which is a ferry just along from John O'Groats, right at the north of Scotland, because I was going to the Glasgow electric vehicle event, which I attended. Saw Robert Llewellyn there. Terrible weather, but it was a good event. 61 EVs, but I'm going off subject. So I left the John O'Groats area, Thurso, without 100% charge. I spent too long on the Friday demonstrating the car, and it wasn't fully charged. I had about 120 miles as opposed to a full charge. So I drove down to a place called Helmsdale on the A9, and that has one of the new triple-headed chargers. Bear in mind I had to go 370 something miles to Edinburgh Airport supercharger, so I couldn't get there on a single run. So I went to Helmsdale, new triple-headed charger from Charge Your Car, and this charges on the AC side. There's 3 connections: a CHAdeMO, a 7-pin Mendes plug, and a combined charging system for the BMWs and the Volkswagens. So the AC plug, it looks like a normal Type 2 style of connection, and that will charge off this three-phase rapid charger. It will charge it at 32 amps, but being three-phase is a lot faster. So the range was about 64 miles range added per hour of being plugged in. So I stayed there 2.5 hours. I had time to do it, and I needed something to eat. So I stayed there until I had something like 95% charge, and that the car then said to me, you will have enough range to get to Edinburgh Airport. You'll have 18 miles left when you arrive at Tesla Supercharger. So I'll be honest, I had a fair degree of scepticism. I thought, well, yeah, you know, give or take 5 or 10 miles, it might be a bit of a narrow squeak, but I'll go with it, you know. It was 18 miles left when I got there. The sat-nav was absolutely crack on. Brilliant. That was very, it really increases your confidence in the car and its telematics and what it's telling you. Unlike the Nissan system, to be honest, it's referred to as the guessometer. And very often you have got to guess and just, you know, go on a wing and a prayer with regard to getting it close. But with the Tesla, no issues at all. That was brilliant, it really was. Yeah, this is the P85, the top of the range with the sunroof. I wouldn't have the sunroof, it's a nice toy. It's nice to show people from the screen what the sunroof does. The adjustable air suspension is great. It's the other thing I found impressive. I went back to my old house, which is now sold, just to finalise the sale of that. And through the village next to where I used to live are some speed bumps. And they are quite tall, so I thought, well, I've got the toy to play with, I'll put it on the highest suspension setting. So I came to sort of 10-15 miles an hour up to these bumps, pressed the button, went to the very high setting. You feel the car actually move, you can do this whilst you're moving. Went over all the speed bumps, it was about 7 or 8, got the other side, just hit standard, and the car then went back down to its standard suspension ride height. Thought no more about it. The next day I went through the same village, and as I approached the speed bumps, the car automatically on its own adjusted the suspension. Staggeringly brilliant. I love that. Really clever. What else has it got? It's got the low profile alloy wheels and low profile tyres. I can't remember the size, but they're very the wall is about that thick. I understand they're very expensive, and the alloy wheels are being prone to being curbed. Now the alloys, all 4 are curbed, I have to say, and not by me. That was by the sales manager. This is his personal car. So that's the other thing, you know, do you want to pay for these fancy smart alloys with the constant risk of curbing them? And in fact, I saw another Model S owner at one of the superchargers yesterday, and he had virtually the same car, only in like a pearlescent white, and he had the same alloys, and he'd curbed them as well, and he actually said he wished he hadn't had them for that reason. So the standard alloy looks nice, they're wider tyres, so I'd have a standard alloy wheel setup as well. This is the P85, it's not the P85D. This is 6 months old, this vehicle, so this is one of the last of the old P85s. So all the power comes through the rear of the car, and Tesla reliably informed me that it can eat tyres if you're not careful. So as another bonus for the D, the dual motor is obviously going to spread all that torque between all 4 tyres. The seats, the seats are comfortable. I'd like a little bit more support, which you get in the UK spec car. You can ask for these more supportive seats. Adjustable steering wheel. Oh yeah, that's the other great thing. You can personalise your Tesla Model S. So when you've adjusted the seat and you've adjusted the electronic steering wheel for height, reach and everything, you then click save, give it a name, So when someone else jumps in the car and they mess about with all the controls and the seating positions, you don't lose your perfect seating position. How many times have we all done that? I do, especially. Everything's right about your seating position, and then your wife or somebody borrows the car and they change all the settings. And you ever found that it seems to take you weeks to get that perfect setting back again? Or am I just OCD? Answers on a postcard, please. But with this, click restore, and it goes back to that perfect setting, which has been good for me doing test drives because I've had all sorts of shapes and sizes. So that is a definite. Get electronically adjustable seats with a memory. Definitely do that. I had one lady whose husband's very keen on the S, who've got a Mercedes, big Mercedes estate. I don't know if it's an S-Class, but it's a big estate. They love the car. They spotted a lot of Mercedes switchgear and stalks, etc. And she's really, really tiny. And she looked at the car and was impressed. She went, yeah, but I bet I can't get the perfect seating position. So she played with the controls for a good 5 minutes. So the seat was up and forward, and the angle was changed, and the steering wheel changed. And she drove it quite happily, and she was genuinely flabbergasted the fact that she had, for the first time, the perfect driving position. She was happy because she could see over the end of the bonnet. So from tall 6'4" people like me, perfect driving position, to very short people, and they too have found the perfect driving position. So yeah, that's another great feature of the Model S. What else can I talk about? It's just brilliant. Stereo is great, DAB radio is great. Oh yeah, when I go to collect any car for a customer, a Nissan Leaf or an amaze, and I physically drive it back or I get it delivered, I take my iPod, which has obviously got a USB connection, so I can play all my favourite tunes through the car's system. The Model S has 2 USB ports, but they're just charging ports. You know, I'm so out of date. Your device has to Bluetooth its music to the car. So, no CD player, that's so last century. And here's me thinking tapes were last century, CDs are last century. And my iPod, which is from 2007, which is great, I think it's the only Apple product I've got. It's great for storing all my favourite songs on. And you take it on the plane to listen to music. I couldn't get the music from my iPod into the car because my iPod is so old, 2007, I suppose it is really, 8 years old, that it doesn't Bluetooth. I understand modern iPods do Bluetooth. So there you go. The car is slowly dragging me to becoming more updated. But that's the other interesting thing. But the DAB radio is brilliant, AM and FM of course. The browser is fantastic when there's a good 3G connectivity, as is the sat-nav. That's really good. So there, I've shunted on for long enough. I'll do a little bit towards the end when I'm leaving this at Gatwick, and do a little bit of a walk around. Yeah, in an hour or so. So I will speak to you soon. So here we are, we're back at Gatwick. I'm in love with this car. I'm really sorry to see it go. Yeah, absolutely superb. So I'm just going to pop the gorgeous key back into Tesla's S-Box. So yeah, that is an amazing vehicle. Thanks for watching.